In this video, we are going to go over the Outcomes tab. When you log into Illinois workNet and click on the Customer Support Center, it will take you here to the group search page where any group that you have access to will be listed. Click on Apprenticeship Illinois. The Customers tab will list all of the apprentices that you have in the system. Click on the last name to open a file. It will automatically take us to the Intake Review tab. Click on the Outcomes tab. At the top, it says Apprenticeship Illinois Exit/Outcomes tab. You have a Case Notes section at the top that you can open up and add case notes regarding outcomes or different sections here that you want to note about. The Outcomes tab tracks items that an apprentice has scheduled to do or has accomplished. The Outcomes tab can be used to check the status of action items for the apprentice, review and or add services, goals, measurable skill gains, earned credentials, success stories, employment, exit, and follow-up. The top chart is a summary. The summary provides a graphic depiction of where the apprentice stands on each of the performance measures. The results column tracks if items have been entered or achieved. The status column tracks whether the item has been completed. The status colors, yellow indicates the item is not completed, and green indicates that the item is complete. The next section is the services. The services section tracks services entered for the apprentice. Services can be added to the career plan or in this section. Services should be assigned to goals. To add a service, click the Add Services Activities. Click Add by the desired service. And then go in and click the pencil icon to edit the step. And here it takes us to the career plan where we are going to select a goal. We're going to put in a start date. We're going to put in a planned completion date and the average number of weekly hours. And we're going to click Update Customer Service. It'll prompt us to leave a case note. Again, you have the options to send a case note as an Illinois workNet message to the apprentice. You can select as Illinois workNet message and email. And once you select that box, you can choose to send it to anyone in your office listed, or you can save as a case note without sending a message or email. Okay, so it is saying that the provider is required. So we need to make sure to go back and add the provider and then click Update Customer Service, Service Added, Same Note, and Add Case Note. And now we have a success. Customer service has been updated successfully. So now we're going to go back to the Outcomes tab. The next section in the Outcomes tab is the Goals. Goals are items that the apprentice would like to achieve. They can be added from the Goals section of the career plan or in this section. If we were to add a goal statement, we would click the box and type in the goal statement. We would choose the category. We would choose if it's a short-term or a long-term goal, and then we would select the status and then click Add Goal. And then once we add that goal, it'll show up here in our list of goals. The next section is measurable skill gains. This section tracks skill gains with specific measurements. You can select one of the 5 skill gains: educational functional level, secondary transcript report card, post-secondary transcript report card, training milestone, or skills progression, diploma, certificate, or degree. The educational functional level, this is based upon documented test scores added in the assessment section of the apprenticeship profile. So, for example, the TABE. An additional measure would be those apprentices who enter post-secondary education or training after exit in the same program year whose school status was not attending school or a high school graduate. The next option, secondary transcript report card. This applies to apprentices without a high school diploma or equivalency at program entry. The post-secondary transcript report card applies to full-time students, which must achieve a minimum of 12 credit hours within 1 semester. A training milestone is satisfactory or better progress report towards established milestones such as completion of OJT or completion of 1 year of apprenticeship program or similar milestones from an employer or training provider who is providing training. And then the skills progression, successful passage of an exam that is required for an occupation or progress in attaining technical or occupational skills as evidenced by trade-related benchmarks, such as knowledge-based exams. And there is more information about this in the outcomes information, which is listed here under the related instructions. The next section is the earned credentials. This section tracks the achievements, qualifications, or credentials earned by the apprentice. They can be added by clicking the Add Credential button. And that redirects you to the apprenticeship career plan, where you can select the activity for which the credential was earned, and then you'll enter the type of credential in with the activity. And that's where you can add the credential manually to the specific service. Let's go back to the Outcomes tab. Next, you have the Success Story section. This section displays success stories submitted by or about the corresponding apprentice. So they would link here, and then there is always the master link to add a success story. We're going to close that section just by clicking the top of it. The next section is the exit section. This section tracks the pieces required to exit an apprentice. All boxes must be checked before the apprentice may be exited. They will automatically check items included in the apprentice's profile. All services should have a complete status. Measurable skill gains have been entered, and all industry recognized credentials are entered into the system. The next section is employment. This section tracks apprentice employment after exiting the program, or it tracks employment of an incumbent worker who retains employment during training. That's where this is added. And you would just do it by clicking the Add Employment button and putting in the information. The next section is the follow-up section. This section tracks the follow-up communication that you should have with the apprentice at any time. You can click Add Follow-up Case Note, and this is where you would put your follow-up case notes. And finally, the last section is the post-exit outcomes. And that's where it sums up how the apprentice has finished the program.